Hey friends, it's me Cynthia, and this is our Greengirlstudios Magic Hour Sunday edition. So I don't know how it is for y'all out there, but it's a warm day. It's 90 some degrees. Maybe not 90 right now, but I think the high was at 90. So it's warm. And I have some resin to show you. We've been making a lot of pins. I sold a bunch at the Big Crafty, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I had some finished ones, but they're packed up. I have some that I did not complete, and those are, let me see, I think I got some in my pocket. Oh, hello friends. Hello, Allison. All right, what do I have in here? All right, here's one. This is one of mine. That's, sorry about this light. I noticed it's very yellow. I'm going to show y'all how to do this. I've shown it before, but I have a few new tricks up my sleeve this time. This is a tadpole. I actually, like 2 weeks ago, I saw a tadpole that was like the king. His whole head, he was bigger than this. His whole head could have fit in my palm. I wanted to catch him, but you know, I knew it would be wrong to do that, so I left him alone. But I made several videos that only I'm interested in watching. I showed my kids and they were like, "Oh, that's nice, Ma. Thank you for showing me that." So it's pretty cute. So I wanted to show a little bit. I have some resin pieces. Like this is a resin bangle that I made several years ago in my video with Craft Daily. Or is it Craft Daily? Oh no, it's F&W. So a long time ago, let me see. Well, it doesn't have the year on it. But maybe 10, 15 years ago, I did this class called Custom Cast Bangles and Cuffs. And it's a class where you learn how to make masters out of paraffin. And from the paraffin wax, because it's readily available, you can get it at a grocery store, where you could make really cool bracelets. And here's one. I've been wearing this one all day. It's I don't know if it shows up quite. It's a blue resin, and these guys here are painted. And there's full directions. It's through, I think you can still get this. I'm pretty sure you can still get it. It's from Stringing Magazine or F&W, and I think you can order it. It's like, I think 20 bucks maybe. Pretty nice, pretty good class, pretty thorough, very thorough. You'll learn how to embed these neat pieces of acetate, wet media acetate that I had printed at Kinko's. I don't know if Kinko's is still around, but I guess FedEx now. So I used a photo or maybe oh yeah, that is. It's a photo that I took in Hawaii at a tide pool. And when you print things on wet media acetate or like clear, you just have them clear, you can cut it up and put it in your resin. And so it's pretty fun. I thought I'd show that for a second. I'm going to make some more. I have all these molds, so it's pretty fun to make. Could I make those hinged? Yeah, you could. It's just, you know, it's more labor, and you have to find hinges. If you have that kind of, you know, if you have those pieces, I guess you could buy them, maybe make them. I don't know, but you could. It's not impossible. I mean, I've seen them. I have a few hinged bracelets, but yeah, hinging them is a whole nother thing. It's not easy because you need to have parts made. What I'm doing is making them in a really, really simple silicone mold. You could actually use like silicone from the hardware store. You could actually use that and it would work. It's cheaper, but not as long lasting, but it would work. So as we know, next week is the Great Bead Extravaganza, and it's going to be fun. I'm finally getting the crocheted kit completed, and there's a lot to it. It's a lot. So this is a crochet piece I've been working on for a long time. It's one of those things that, it's a snake. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but I bought the directions or the book called Handmade Beaded Snakes by, I think her name at the time was Jean Campbell Cox. and I think it's just Jean Campbell. But in it, she describes how to make this, and the most challenging part is increasing. I can always see my increases. I need to work on that because it's crochet. Now, the class I'm talking about is for, I've had so many requests over the years to teach this, and I've taught it before live action at bead stores and so forth, and that's this. So if you're interested in learning to make this, my goal for this week is finishing editing the video. It's a lot of, you know, adding text because you don't want to, you know, it's like, you know, the sounds outside, you can't have that. You know, you want to make it as professional as possible. And the videos I've done in the past, it was like a film studio, so I have a little bit of intimidation of what I've done before, and I've done videos for Craftsy, and theirs is like it's like a TV set. You know, there's powerful lights, and they have all that editing, and it's pretty awesome. So I've been really self-conscious of my video making, and I have that thing. I don't know if anyone else has that, where they're kind of a little bit where you want everything to be kind of perfect. You want everything perfect, right? And especially if you're going to charge money for it, because it's not going to be a free download. It's too much work. I mean, when I taught the class pre-pandemic, I charged $120, and it was an all-day class, and that included dyeing your cord, it included boring out the holes, it included obviously stringing and tips on stringing. So it's pretty, you know, it was a lot of work, and people had appreciation for this type of necklace making by the end of it. So if you're interested in that, that's what I've got planned. I'm working on kits now. It's some tedious business because I have been collecting and amassing mini tiny beads for the past, I've been working on this project. I mean, I know I've been having emails for this for at least a year. So I've been collecting the beads for it for forever. So I have all different colors, and I found some awesome micro-faceted pieces that you won't have to drill. They're teeny tiny. I have some, oh, so beautiful little zircons that I've been hoarding, like the whole hank, as it were. So those guys, that's coming soon. It's coming soon. So, and by soon I mean Sunday. It's going to be done Sunday, if I have to stay up all night every night for this whole week. So that's on the table. I'm just letting you know that, so anybody that's been asking over those classes, they can finally get it, and it'll be fun. I'm really excited about it. So today, I'm going to show y'all how I make these pins, and that's like this. This is a face plate of a creature. It's the same method. And here's another one. We sold these last year at Big Crafty. I was too far behind to make any more of these stuffed animal type, you know, kind of a fantasy creature plushie. Didn't really have the time this year. I got really invested in making those bezels that I showed on Wednesday, which I still have been grinding away. I have to figure out a way to do that a little faster because it is not easy. It turns out it's not simple to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip this camera around. I got the world's squeakiest chair. Alright. Let's see. I'm going to flip this. I know one day, I keep promising one day I'm going to get it together and get it where I am not. Alright. Yeah, that was relatively painless. Usually it's so painful to get that. Alright, here we go. So I put this piece of cardboard down to protect this little vinyl video piece. I have a bunch of them. You know, usually I can get a little lower so it's not so, how do you say, doesn't look quite as loving hands of home. But the resin I'm using today, let me get the box. This is from Alumilite. It's called Amazing Casting Resin. It's very durable. I have pins like the ones I showed you This pen is from probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it's held up. This actually went through the wash because I had it pinned to my jacket and I forgot. And the only thing that really happened was some of the black of the eye got worn off in the wash, but it didn't come off. It stayed true. And several of my customers had them pinned on their bags, and they got more, and for gifts and things. So I was happy. You know, it's not a good feeling when you make something and it has to be replaced or it doesn't hold up. Okay, getting this. Oh, I forgot about this little guy. And this one. Oh, and I forgot about all these. This is my work tray of everything I've been working on the last few days. Or actually, more like last month or so. These are the ones that didn't get finished. By finished, I mean their backs glued or their eyes painted. Let's see if I can show a few more. Oh, and then this one, that's from the wooden piece that I made. And I showed this in a live a few weeks ago. So that one, he didn't make it to the show because I didn't have a chance to sand off the little burrs or the pour spout. Yeah, I could have sold this over like 1,000 times because these sold really fast, these ladies here that I made. And this one, I was trying out a new thing where I started it with clear. This is a one layer of UV clear. And then I backfilled it with colors. And that gives you that kind of translucent opalescent effect. It's kind of labor intensive to make them that way because there's a lot of layers. Here's another one. This one had kind of a velvety finish because I powdered it and then went in with a clear on top, but you can't really tell. So I was just being experimental. This one I painted after the fact. It came out pretty good. So different textures of powders will give you different effects. So this one, you can see it's kind of metallic. I was using powders such as like these. These are for nails. This variety, I got these on Amazon, and these work really good. But they work better if you're applying it to like the surface of something. I'm just going to show an example. Like this one, that's what that is in there. Actually, it's actually this one. This is pigment that they use to spray automotive. So I got this was automotive supply. And it's a little bit, I don't know if you can see, but it's a holographic pigment, glitter type of powder. And it's not super fine grain. This one has a little bit of a texture. I know you can't really tell, but I say texture. It's a little bit coarser than some of the others that I've used in the past. It's not as fine as, say, this Pearl X is the best as far as like these interference duochrome colors. And that means that if you look in certain light, it'll be pink one direction and then kind of yellowish and then like a blue, or maybe that's a purple. So this one's called, what is that called? Interference blue. Because the sheen is blue, but it has also, they call them duo colors because in one light it looks, or one direction it looks more pink. Here's another one. Yeah, this one is green, yellow, gold. And I think I got that half off like forever ago. And this stuff goes a long way. So if you see it on sale, it's a good buy because you can use it in the resin and you can use it to paint with. It's so multi-purpose. You know, anytime I see it, I get it because you never know. I mean, I use this with my vintage paints, the ultimate paints, or the patina paints. Those, it works great with those. It's a good all around. You can use it to make your own watercolors if you want to. I mean, really, there isn't, I can't even think of anything you couldn't use it for. It's just useful. It's a very useful product. All right, I'm going to shift this over. Oh, look how cute this came out. Isn't that so cute? And this actually was painted. I need to come up with a name for this style of painting. It's I developed this kind of technique probably 25 years ago when I was working in the 3D lab, in the sculpture lab. It's where you paint from the inside of the mold and pour on top of it. I'm going to get this. So this is how I'm doing it. These are called pan pastels. I'm sure y'all know what pan pastels are. They're made from ground up pigments. They're like regular pastels. It's kind of like these pigments, but no sparkle. I don't have any of these. Are all straight up considered artist colors. And I think they're probably the nicest pastels that you can get, unless you get like, you know, the hand rolled, you know, they shape them like clay. But what they do with the powders is that they flatten them down into these cakes. It's like a, let me see, does it show it on the back? Yeah, they're pressed into these little molds, and they're pressed tight. They can crack, so if you drop it, you can crack them, but they're all artist colors, you know, they're not like, I don't know, like some of the cheapo pastels, they're not really very saturated, and what that means is that they add a lot of filler, cheap pigments like calcium carbonate, which is, you know, that's basically plaster for like titanium white. I don't know the chemical makeup of it. Someone out there probably does. Just set that down. Now where'd it go? Get too much stuff out. Okay, so I'm going to divide this. I've got 2 little cups. This is the amazing casting resin, and I like to be sort of conservative with my cup usage so that I'm not throwing away half a dozen cups. So I reuse everything. So this is a silicone cup. Easy, easy, easy to pop the hardened resin. They are not chalk. They are chalky. They are not chalk though. But they have the chemical makeup of some chalks. And they're the thing that's good about them is they just have they'll last forever. But if you can't afford them, you can just get other colors. What's this? Hobby Lobby doesn't sell pan pastels anymore. They probably don't because they get broken. And nobody wants to, if they're broken, nobody wants to buy those. They want the nice ones. I'm very careful with mine. I'm looking for a place now. I want to set it down, but I don't want to run the risk of it falling down. I'm going to move some stuff around this table. I need a bigger table. Isn't that always the way? Okay. Azalea and the fam, they're in Ohio. Kind of having like a little vacation with the family. So that's pretty sweet. They're enjoying life. I think I'll do this one. Other pastels work. Jermaine, I think only pan pastel makes pan pastel. Pastels will work, but they're not as saturated, unless you get like artist grade from maybe, I think, Old Holland. But you know, there's some, I mean, in a fix, if you're using things from like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, it'll work. It just won't be as saturated. It'll just be more muted. And if you do want some, you can always save up. And this is how I started. This was the first set right here. I started with red, yellow, blue, and black. And then you can kind of blend from there. Yeah, I keep these. I keep them I'm very, very careful with them because I don't want them to break. They wouldn't be useless, but it does distress me when they're kind of messed up. I want them to be fresh, especially since they're like $5 or $6 a piece. And this, so, okay, here's the fun part. I'm going to lift the lids. They have a lid on it. Let me get in here. Okay, here we go. Fit now. So I have this brush that's called a deer foot. They call it a deer foot because it looks like a deer's foot. And that's, or maybe they call it something else. Maybe these guys call it, no, they do call it a deer foot. That is what that's called. And this is a Princeton brush. But you know what I've done in the past? I've cut brushes to do this. Just chopped them. And you want something that's a little, not too soft, because you want it to be able to get in there a little bit stiff. Could be like an acrylic brush. So I'm going to use, I think I'll make it, they're so pretty. These will last me until forever, because I don't make any pastel drawings. It's easy to do, and they're really saturated. I'll show you a real quick thing to show. This is the side of a box. Let me see what color to show this. And this will give you an idea of how very pigmented they are. And this isn't, so I'm rubbing it into the surface. It's kind of like eyeshadow. Kind of reminds me of eyeshadow. And they blend really well. Yeah, they're beautiful. They're worth it. Of all the, and you know what? The one good thing, and I say one good thing, there's so many good things. They'll never go bad. Like, sometimes you'll get oil colors and you'll say, oh, this is a very expensive oil color. And they can dry out. That's the thing. So this powder you can use in your resin right here. So it's not, if there's any of this leftover powder, I can put it on the B side, which I'm going to try right now. I'll just pour some of that in there into the cup. And it'll give it kind of a slight, you'll get like little granules of like stone if you use these if you use pastel dust. Let's see how that pink looks. Oh, hello, Wendy. And this is just on a cardboard box, just displaying how saturated these colors are. Like, here's one. That's just rubbing my finger on it, because it really shows up. See? Not pretty. So that same saturation you'll get in your mold. Okay, I'm going to wipe off my brush. And there's still some on there, but I'm not particular. It'll be fine. Okay, I'm going to make him green, I think. A little green, maybe a bluish green, kind of like a White's tree frog. This is the mold of the frog. That's, let's see if I have any done ones over here I can show. No, I guess I don't. Those were the hit and they sold the best. He was the second best seller of the weekend. Little fatty. Look how fat he is. Gotta hunt for that mold. It's on the desk over here somewhere. So you can see that's that frog. I'll blow out any dust. And I'm gonna do it just like a very light. You can actually go in and really detail paint it with a smaller brush. I'm going to mix some of these colors. I'm going to use some of this yellow in there for at the bottom of his face. Kind of a bright color. Let's see how... One of the fun things about this is that you can also tint your resin. So if you use white and your resin's white, this color will be more like... Where'd that frog go? It'll show more like this. See, it's your white background will give you the brightest coloration. But if it wears away, you'll get white. So that doesn't happen. I mean, this, you can see the resin on this was kind of a pink color. See that color there? That's the color of the tint that I used on the resin. And so the mold was dusted, but you're seeing a slight sheen of pink through it. See, this part didn't get, like, only the high points were painted in the mold. So the high points are your more recessed areas, if that makes sense. So I did not work hard to get in here and tint those or get the pigment down deep into this. But I could if I went like this, if you open up the mold just like this. So I'm opening it up and I'm going to get that kind of yellowish. It's kind of mixing the colors. And it's pretty fun to do that. And if you don't like it, well, you won't know until after. I don't think you'll know until after. At least I don't. Fishy tadpole, just a tadpole. Very cute. I like tadpoles. Saw the king the other day. It was a massive, massive. I was like, what was that? What must the frog look like? Probably a big bullfrog or something. Anyway, it was cute. Try this. And if you want, see these parts that are more raised? They're raised here. They will make the shadow of, like, let me see if there's one that will show it better. Will be your recessed areas. So they'll come out darker because here they're raised, right? See how it's, see that? That's that mouth piece. If I want it to be darker, like it's a little mouth, like it's the shadow of his mouth, I can get a little bit darker color and dust it in there. So I'll have a few of these on Sunday. If you guys want, I've had a couple requests, so I'll make a few pins for the GBE. It'll be a good time. It's always exciting. I always feel like it's really festive. Something to look forward to. So you can kind of see how it's coming out. And this is a good indicator. If you have clear resin, like caulk works good for that. But you can kind of see how it's going to look from the other side. If you have a good clearish, translucent resin, that's what that face is going to look like. A little bit. So it needs more. Go in with another. Blue, I think. Oh, thank you, Shuri. That's nice of you. She says, I so look forward to 2 days of learning and laughing. Thank you. That's nice. All right, I'm going to paint the eyes. I consider this, you know what? This is kind of like, I'm going to name this dry painting because it is kind of like you're painting, but it is dry. So I think there's the name for it. The other day I was like, what would I even call that technique? So I was trying to explain it to a friend of mine. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's so weird. It's like, you just have to see it. It's hard to explain. So I just dusted that with another layer of that soft sky blue. And you can see how it's like really blue. So this, you're going to be seeing this, whatever color underneath it I use, either white resin or, you know, I could go another color, like a little bit of pink. If I wanted his cheeks to be a little bit pink. Robin, dry brushing. Well, I can't use dry brushing because dry brushing is a technique that you would use with acrylics or oil. It's that's actually another, that's not the same, and that name already exists for the technique dry brushing. That's it's also, you know, kind of massage. I had that done once and I loved it. Right before a massage. I guess it's supposed to like exfoliate, but it's very energizing. Now, see, it's kind of a pinkish. He's getting to be fantasy colored. Fantasy. Now, since that fantasy film, ever since I heard that, I say it like it's Fantasy Island. And anytime I say it, I have to say it like that. I annoy myself with it, so I apologize now. Because it's going to happen again. A fantasy froggy. Yep, see? It's out of my control. Oh, we'll see what it looks like. I could actually make this really opalescent. You know how I could do that? Oh, let's experiment and see how opalescent I can make it. I gotta bust. Alright, I'm gonna get it out. Let's try UV first. It's gonna be like a science project up in here. I didn't try this one with clears. Alright, I'm gonna do it. But before that, I want to put on... Where's that other color? I put the lid on. I'm so careful with these. My nightmare is to drop the whole shebang onto the floor. I mean, they'd be fine, but they would be ruined. And that you could still use it, but they wouldn't be the same ever again. I love this color particularly. And this navy kind of marine blue is really beautiful. Alright, I'm going to hit this on the edges with this little bit of this dark color. Kind of love it. Oh yeah, y'all can just, you can watch and see if this is something you're interested in. I have a million projects going at all times. Fantasy creatures. Bonnie. Alright. That looks pretty good. Kind of opalescent, right? Let's see. Let's get some resin. Let's try clear first. Okay. Got this UV lamp out. Just happened to be hanging out over here. Does that not fit it? Well, dang. Let's see if I got another one. Should. Oh, here's the cord. All right. No, I didn't know I would be doing clear resin today, so that's kind of exciting. I thought I was going to be doing just regular resin. So we'll see. I have some of these too. I bought these before. Colored Jewelry UV. I bought these on Amazon. I tried these out. They're pre-tinted. I don't know if they're opaque. Are these the opaque ones? This might be cool to try like a translucent, you know, like a white. So it gives it a real opaly feeling. Alright, let's see how this one looks. Usually I put gloves on. So if you're watching this and if you're distressed right now at the lack of gloves, then maybe close your eyes or avert your eyes. Because I'll just use some Goo Gone on my hands. It's hot here, Donna. I don't know how hot it is. I was looking at how hot it is in Fresno, and I thought, I'm going to die just looking at this. Okay, so I haven't tried this. Let me see. This is already open. I haven't tried this, so we'll see how it looks. I'm going to go with this translucent kind of clear. This is a UV. We're going to double dip with this 2 different types of resin. All right, see if it works. Maybe I should shake it. If that's supposed to be white, that didn't look white at all. Okay. Yeah, you know what? The other day, when we were casting, I got so much heat for someone was like, uh, "You're not wearing a mask?" Because I mean, I'm like, usually I walk away from this stuff. I'm not just standing over it and watching. It's for a video. Okay, there's some of that white. Hopefully, I mean that doesn't look good at all. All right, we'll see what that looks like. That's kind of an interesting texture, an interesting choice. This might look horrendous, but you never know till you try it, right? It's an experiment. I'm trying to swirl this around because I don't want a thick layer of clear. I just want a light kind of. I want it to be opalescent. I don't want it to be like a solid white. Otherwise, I just use white resin. I was going from. I should have just gone clear, but I don't know. I had that carved opal idea in my mind, so we'll see if I can get that. You never know what's going to happen. So yeah, this person was like, "Oh my God, you're standing over this." I got an email that was like, "You shouldn't be showing people how to do that and teaching them not to have safe casting practices." And I was like, "Are you joking right now? This is not a teaching thing where I'm teaching here's how to do XYZ. This is just how we do it. And you're watching it. It's not directions like a college course. I mean, it's not that thorough. I mean, if it were, I was like, I think I should get paid. And I then would make an effort to talk about safety first. I mean, it's not like everybody has casting equipment that's going to run out and copy me and be like, oh, I'm going to put my face over the quenching bucket. And anyway, my face wasn't over it. I turned my head. And in real life, I would have just walked away. I wouldn't have stood over it. That was only for showing the video. So anyway, if you're the type of disposition to want safety first, then you can make a list of all the ways I've broken safety protocol and send it in an email, and I'll get right on it. All right, let's see. That looks pretty good. Nice thin coat. Might take 2 rounds to get it to go completely non-tacky. You want your UV resin to always be set up before you start adding other resin. I'm kind of tempted to pop it out to see what it looks like. I don't know. It might be too... I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see. Also, it can't be too thick. If this is too thick, then it'll be tacky, and then I'll have to leave it out in the sun. So I'm swirling this to try and get a consistent depth of about 1 millimeter or so. All right, here we go. Oh, I don't want to take any, I don't want any heat. Alcohol artists, I don't want to have any heat. I don't like it when people are like, this is the way. Oh man, whenever I show waxwork, inevitably there's going to be one jeweler out there that feels like it's their sworn duty to correct me and be like, that is not how I was trained or anyone else I've ever met. And admittedly, I usually tell people, hey, this is not standard carving. This is the way I was taught by my friend Bob. All right, here we go. This is the UV thing. I'm going to keep it moving so that it doesn't pool in the face, because you don't want that. It's setting up even as we speak. And I'll hit it from the other side if it's too deep. You can kind of see it go. Oh, Anne Gardan. Hello, Anne. It probably needs more. Let's do more. I'm going to see it on this side. I think it's going to be too pale. I don't know if that's going to do anything. Was it too pale? You can see it's a little white. Yeah, Donna, I don't know what's happening with Bob. I'm not on Facebook as much as I usually post, and then otherwise, if I get sucked in, I cannot I cannot get away. I get that, I don't know if anybody else gets that thing where you get sucked in and you can't look away. Okay, so it looks like, all right, let's test it. Feel like that's tacky still. You know, I should try this side too. You can see it's kind of coming through there. That'll set it up. Sometimes when it's thick, it doesn't want to set up. Oh, thank you, Mary. She says, I just started and I'm looking at all the pieces you've made. They're all amazing. I do love the frog. I wish I had your talent of design. Thank you. Well, that's actually, it's not really a talent. It's learned. You can learn it. I went to art school to learn design. I did not know it. I did not know it at all. Still tacky. See, sometimes when you get these really thick areas, like the front of the face is probably, like I was trying to control it and rotate the mold so that it wouldn't be too thick. But it was a little bit thick. It got a little tiny bit thick. Maybe like 4 millimeter, but I can't really tell unless I popped it out to feel it. Okay. Well, I don't want to mess with it anymore. I just want to do it. I want to bust it open. Oh, man. Donna, Bob has some of the worst luck I've ever seen. I'll clear some space here so I can pour this other resin. So this is the Amazing Casting Resin. What I like to do is I have some other silicone, these little silicone cups, but I don't know what I did with them. They're hanging around my studio somewhere. I'll put the cap back on this. It's so hot. I've been using these ice blocks to keep me from getting overheating. But I don't know if it's working. I still feel overheated. So I'll use the same cup. Sometimes I'll write on this if the things get kind of jumble on my work area. I'm not really like a super tidy person, so you know, I love working in a really tidy area, but it's hard for me to keep it tidy. Too many thoughts at once. So that's A side. That's so I can remember, so I can keep reusing it. And B side. And I like to think of B side as base. And I always add my pigments to B side, because that's just the way I was taught. I'm sure there's another way to do it. If you've got another way, you can share it. You can just tell us how you're doing it. Alright, I think now, so sometimes you gotta estimate. You might have leftover resin, and I usually keep, if I over pour or over make the amount that I need, I'll just have these open. This is already pre-loaded with some sparkle pigment so that, you know, if there's any extra, it doesn't go to waste. Because, you know, it's no fun to be wasteful. Plus, resin's not cheap. So this is a 1-to-1 ratio. That means you want equal parts of both. Now, sometimes they can say, it'll say on there by volume. So if it said by weight, then you would get the scale. Now, with volume, you just measure the volume. All right, so I'm going to try to make that exact. What does that say there? I can't read it. 1 tablespoon. Okay, I'm going to pour it from this side. Oh, yeah, I have some. You know, I bought these neck wraps from this gal at a craft show, and it had these Orbeez inside. It's pretty cool. And when you get them wet, they swell up. And they feel cool on your neck. It's pretty good. I have this one tucked on the front of my shirt. It's real classy. But y'all can't see me right now, so it's all good. And it's cooled down quite a bit. It was really unpleasant earlier. And I was cleaning the house earlier while everybody was gone. It was kind of nice. I don't know if anyone else does that, but I like to clean when I am first at home by myself. It's nice to get away or have, like, you know, staycation. I got the place to myself, watch whatever I want. So here are my bag of dyes. Some of these dyes are, like these guys, I've had those probably since I was in college. That's how long lasting. And they're not for everything. Usually it'll say, hey, you can use this on, you know, polyurethane resin. This is one you'd want to use for sure. I'm gonna get some gloves for this, because this stuff gets on your hands, it'll be there forever. Well, not forever. Oh, look at this ring. Did I show this ring? I was putting the gloves on, and that's when I remembered it existed. My hands are a little swollen from that. Isn't that cool? This is a quartz crystal that I got from a vendor when we were vending in Tucson at the Pueblo. And this fella had he's like a world famous lapidary artist. And his case, one of his cases was facing the open part of the tent, because it's all in tents. And I could hear this pop, and I was like, what was that? And I could hear him making this big production. He's like 3 booths down. And I went over to see what was the commotion, and one of his prized opal cabs had popped in the sun. It was pretty horrendous, because it was an really expensive cab. So he had to put this. That's when that show, they moved it, so it was kind of like, it was never an issue before. But that was a really hot time of year to be in Tucson. Do I have a green? I think I do. Yes, I do. These gloves are real tight. I feel like it's like a sausage casing. Okay. We're going to recycle some of these popsicle sticks here. Reuse, reduce, and recycle. Alright, you don't need much. In fact, if you put too much, it won't set up. So this stuff is that concentrated. That little bit, watch how this is going to make this. Just take a gander at how saturated this color is going to be. Might not be. We'll see. Maybe I'm forgetting. We'll see. But it's very concentrated. It's like the most concentrated dye of all. I need to burn a citronella candle. It's very mosquito-y. Yeah, but see, as I stir it, and I didn't even get, look, I didn't even get to the bottom of that. Trying to rub some of that towards the side. Makes a really pretty color, though. Of course, this is not going to be that color because the resin is white. If this were clear, that would be a really beautiful kind of ocean color. Alright, so I usually put... Is it a phthalo? No, this is just green from... I can't even read the bottle. But... And it's full. If you could feel this, it's a full bottle. So I usually pour in this first. And if I want to put any glitters or pigments, this is the time. I'm going to make sure everything, since it's by volume, you want to make sure every drop goes in there. Every drop. Okay, back up you. Should I put glitter in there? Let's get some glitter. Why not? We'll see what happens. Now the glitters, they won't generally show up unless there's some translucent areas. But look at this one. This is crazy how pretty this is. Isn't that so beautiful? I'm going to put a little bit in there and see what happens. You never know. Let's just see. We're being experimental right now. Playing mad scientist. It's one of my favorite things to do. And thank you all for joining me in my experiments. Okay. Now, A side. We're going to pour that A side in there. Get every little bit. I don't want to scrape the cup now because I couldn't use it again unless I had a second stick. So I'm not scraping that. I'm just shaking it out. And that way I can reuse it. So A side back on this side right there. B side back to your corner. And now to quickly but gently stir. You don't want to introduce a lot of air bubbles. We'll see what happens. The glitter might just get buried in there. We'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay. And look, there's so much still left. All right. Let's do another one. Which one do... Oh, here we go. I have some of these crystals. Let's see what happens. So we'll do this one. Why did I lift that up? Should be flat, facing flat. It's really warm, so it's going to set up fast. It's going to set up real fast, so I have to move quick. I guess a tablespoon makes a lot, so let's see. I'm going to do another... Let's do this other crystal here, or no, this other leaf. Let's see what happens. And still there's a little left. Okay, we'll do this one. Okay, still more left. You know, I made those, and I was making little pins with them and sticking them on different... Let's see, we'll just backfill that. Put that last bit. So after this sets up, look, you can see it go. So anything that has the large part of the mass there, it's a kind of a chemical heat. So the more volume, it will heat up faster than these guys. Like this one will be the last one to go. This one, you can see it's already starting. This will be last because it's the thinnest one, so it won't generate as much heat. Set that down very carefully. Oh, hello, Cecilia. Thank you all for joining me today. It's always so fun. I feel like now I feel like, you know, people are saying, well, you don't have to do it every single Sunday or every single Wednesday. And now I've kind of become accustomed to, now I kind of feel like my week is not complete, like I've missed something. So we'll see. There, this one's almost ready, not quite ready to demold. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, where'd that napkin go? I should just have a stack of paper towels on every corner. Oh, I know what I forgot. I didn't have the healing vibes. Those healing energies that I was playing. That's what I was forgetting. I was like, I think I got everything. Azalea's not here to remind me what I need. Okay, let me see. I was going for that other mold. I have stacks and stacks of molds, and sometimes there can be so many that it is very easy to forget where things are and then misplace them. I'm going to see if I've got this one that's very cute, very charming. And I do. Yes. Look at this. This is you can see how I made this mold, a cup. And this one, you won't be able to tell what's in there, but it's one of those little ladies that has, it's like, she's like a little owl. I'll try to dry paint this one, and we'll see if it works. Oh, hey, June. Our friend June is here. Jermaine, you say, how do I clean out your A and B cups? Well, you could wipe them out, but I just leave them. I just leave them there. I could wipe that out, because otherwise I'll have to do something green. But sometimes, I will just say this, sometimes it gets kind of, you know, murky. Let's just say murky, because I'm not, you know, cleaning it between. But that way I don't have to toss a cup every time, you know? And that gets it gets kind of wasteful to have that many cups. So this one, if I push on it, it's hot. If you put your finger on that, it's actually very hot. Oh, yes, Stacy. Science and art. It is so cool. It's pretty fun. I'm dying to open this up, but it's right now, you could actually get burned with this. Like a chemical burn. We'll have to wait. So, in the meantime, I'm going to do another one. I'm going to do this one. I sold these guys. I don't know if you can peek in there and see it. But I sold these gals, these little bird girls, at the Comic-Con in Pasadena. What was that called? There was a show I did out there with a bunch of my buddies. And it was not a show that I usually do, because, you know, I'm usually carrying beads and things, and I was doing like finished prints and things. So this gal, let's do a little bit of brown, and by the time this one is done, this should be ready to pop out. This is basically, could you scrape it out once it's dry? You mean of these cups? It will never dry. They will never dry. It'll stay sticky until forever. Until it's mixed. Let me just test that. Oh, hey, Lynn. Thank you all for joining me today. It kind of feels like, almost like craft time. I have craft parties, I guess. I guess what you call it, craft parties. Azalea calls them my women's meetings, or our women's meetings. And we get a bunch of our friends in town together, and we basically do what I'm doing now. We craft ourselves to death, and it's fun. Okay, so this girl, let's see, where's her face? Her face is down this way, and I don't want her face to be tinted too aggressively. Oh, thank you, Tina says, this is so fun and interesting. All right, I think I'm going to make her, let's say, a little bit of, let me put this in my chair, and hopefully I don't sit on it. You know what I haven't, or you know what I did try the other day? I did try those ultimate paints on the resin, and it came out really good. Made little eyes. I blackened the eyes, I guess I should say. Alright, I thought that was a different brown. So I'm going to get this color. Oh, make a women's craft day. Yeah, you know what? It's fun. Meeting of the craftaholics. Yes. So, and it is fun. I get together. Usually we'll get like 5 or 6, kind of a small group, and some young people, some young women, like 12, 13-year-olds. I think it's important for girls to, you know, be around adult women. You know, get that kind of wise woman energy happening. I feel like it's a good, you know, I don't know. When I was younger, I had the influence of my mother's friends They'd come over and like, I learned to quilt from my grandma, and my aunts would sit around in a sewing circle. And I kind of feel like people don't do that as much. You know, it's like a novelty. When I was younger, that's how you learned about things, is from other women. So if I ever had questions, I knew, you know, some things you're confused about, you can ask the adult women. And it's a different energy. It's a very different energy from what you get when you're in school or like in college. And I really missed it. So when I was in college, I held my own gatherings, and we called them women's meetings then. It was fun. And it was always pretty hilarious because inevitably someone was going to get broken up with, because you can't have a big group. Back then, in my the college ones, there'd be a group of 20 or 30 gals in my apartment, and I would make a big pot of pancit, which is a Filipino dish of rice noodles and like cabbage and carrots and celery. It feeds a lot of people. But the funny thing is that, you know, these guys would be found out because they would just, you know, think, oh, the women, you know, gals don't talk to each other. And we would just be telling all of everything. And you'd discover some things. Oh, that person, I thought he was dating, you know, this person. Oh, that's what he was doing on Saturdays. It was saying he had to work, but it was actually meeting you. So it was kind of funny. But they didn't like the women's meetings. The guys did not like it, and it was one hilarious time when my friend came to one of it. He had on a dress and a wig, and he's like, I'm here for the women's meeting. He didn't fool anyone, by the way. There's a whole group of them standing outside the apartment. They wanted to see what we were getting up to, and also to get some of the food. I would let them in after, and they could have some if there was anything left. But it was fun. You know, it's women talking and just being comfortable in each other's presence. And I was telling Azalea about it. She's like, there isn't much like that. And I said, I know, we need to do it again. And so for the last few years, I've been holding different meetings, or parties, I guess. It's more of a party. The deep ones like this are really hard to get down in there. We'll see how they come out. I think I'll get this like white color or a tan for that face. Oh, yeah. You know, some Filipino food is very good. I've been practicing making some. It's not easy because a lot of it is pork. And I don't need a lot of pork. Alright, I think that one's ready. It's dusted, ready to go. We'll see how that looks. The other advantage of this sort of dry painting technique is that it'll eliminate a lot of the air bubbles. Now, let's bust this open. It's still hot, but let's just test. And so usually what I like to do is kind of test the waters by peeling the edges very carefully and seeing how it goes. It's still real warm. I'm just going to peel and see. Sometimes it can detach, so you don't want that. Oh, Connie's asking about using the mica powders on my charms. Yes. If you watch the video I did, I want to say, I don't remember the day, but I did a video where we used some of the powders, and we used Ultimate Paints. That was a good one to seal them. And I just bake them afterwards. The Ultimate Paints don't need a lot of anything because they're very, very durable. Okay, so this one you can kind of see it. This one was not powdered at all. I just put it in the mold directly. And you can kind of actually see a little bit of the glitter. Very subtle. Let's see how this one looks. This one had the bronze colored dust on the inside. Came out pretty good. Anne is asking, how does it eliminate air bubbles? Well, I think that has something to do with the surface tension. I could be, I don't know, I don't know exactly how it is, but it seems like it breaks the surface tension up. That's not the green I thought, Bonnie. I know, because you're adding, it's a white base, so you don't get that. You'd only get that if it was a translucent color, like clear. Ugh. Wow, that did not come out. So my experiment with using UV resin did not work. This was an utter fail because it was too thick. I flew too close to the sun and poured that UV resin. In order for that to work, it would have to be a very, very thick layer. And it was not. So in the trash this goes. And the way you would clean this is the only way, really. I mean, they have these chemicals. I can't remember the name of it. It's a very, very toxic. I can't remember the name of it. It's like, what is the name of that stuff? But it's for cleaning out pipes and things. In the trash that went. I think plumbing pipes. And it'll break it down. I think it's called Attack. Does anyone remember that? If it's called Attack, that you could soak a mold in? Because this will not set up. The UV won't set up. So what I'm going to have to do, toluene. I don't know. It had something else. It was a different name than that. Anne says they're not compatible. No, they are. It's just I want too thick. I want way too thick. Because this is the same technique. I was trying to get this, and that has a clear layer right there, and then I finished it with an opaque white resin, and it worked, but it wasn't as thick as this. I just went way too thick, and that was the problem, is that sometimes, you know, it's just and I don't think I did it for enough time, you know, because usually I'll do it for like 30 seconds or a minute and then another minute. No, they wouldn't have set up because, see, what happened with that is that the details were all kind of screwed up. I could probably pour it again, and if it's set up over there, but what happened was it only had a thin skin of where it was set. So let's see what these look like. Well, boring. And then these guys, I'll trim them. And what I usually do is build like a collage with them. It's like kind of like Mr. Potato Head, where you can build. Have you carved your own molds? Vicky, these are all my molds. So yes, I've carved probably, I don't know how many hundreds of things. These are all mine. But the thing is you're not carving the mold. You're carving the thing that you mold. So I carve the master, and that piece gets molded. And from that, you pour a piece. So you're not carving the mold, you're pouring your molds, because they're poured in silicone. In this case, they're silicone. A mold can be made of just about anything, but it depends on what you're trying to get the final result. If you're trying to get something that's soft, you would use a hard mold. This is a different kind of silicone, and it's a very hard, dense silicone. And it's going to be, I think probably I'd need probably a tablespoon of each, maybe a little bit less. So this is set up, and this is what I do with this. Okay, so here's how the silicone works for this. You can go in and then peel the inside out, just like that. And so then you pitch the extra in the trash. And there you go. It's ready to go for the next round. you can try to get most of it, but that's, you know, that's good. So let's pour this bird girl. Okay, so I'm going to reuse that. A side, we'll do, let's see, do another tablespoon. I think that'll be plenty. Always cap between so you don't accidentally, if somebody, like if a cat jumps on the table, or if, you know, you never know what's going to happen. Just cap it. Okay, another tablespoon for this side. There are all different kinds of resins out there, so this is by volume. There are some that are by weight, so you'd have to get a little scale. And it usually will always say right on the bottle what kind it is. This type of resin is not good for pressed flowers because it's an opaque resin. Anne says, is that a resin bracelet? Oh, this one? Yes. This is from my class. That is, let's see if I can find it. It was over here a second ago. That's this from this class. Custom cast bangles and cuffs. And boy, these bracelets can take a beating. This is the first one. This is the one that people always make from it. Came out good. And you can make that from, you know, the stuff you have in your house. Here's one that's not trimmed. See, there's the pour area. Oh, thanks, Bonnie. That was a professional took that picture. They had a professional. All right, I'm not going to tint this, I think. Oh, maybe I will. Maybe I'll do a little bit of that brown. The naked resin is so white. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit. Hopefully I don't put too much. You just need a drop. That's why these things are practically full. That might even be too much. And the reason they get gross is if you saw that little number where it was still kind of running and I just stuck that cap right on there, don't do that because then it looks like this. Be tidy with it. Okay, this is going to be it looks like it'd be a dark brown. It's not going to be that brown. As we've seen from this resin, since it's a white base, it's going to be probably a light beigey tan color. Or not. It's hard to know from this. So, we'll see what color it comes out. I don't know yet. I'm hoping for kind of like a coffee with milk color. But we'll see. And this had that green in there, but you know what? Now it's brown. Okay, now the A side. I was listening to this podcast. I don't know if y'all have heard of the longest study on human development, but it started, it's like I can't remember what it's called. Anyone remember what that's called? The Harvard study of human development. It's been going on since like the 30s. Jillian's asking, how do I prevent bubbles? I always get little bubbles. You know what? That is always the case. For these, you know what we used to use in college? It was this table we made that had a little motor and it vibrated. Alright, let's pour that in there and see what happens. So this has been dusted with the pan pastels in a technique I'm going to call dry painting. And you can get rid of bubbles by you can use a torch. If you can see them, I'm going to tap this. And usually you know, if you have, You know what I was using one time, and by one time I mean last week. I have this massage gun that I got on Amazon Prime Day. Look, there's still a lot left. Let's see, what else do I have sitting here? Something interesting. I should have done this earlier. Pre-dusted. This is going to set up fast, so I'm going to quickly dust this mold. And I think I'm going to do, let's see, let's do green in here. We'll see if I make it in time. I might not make it. It's the fastest dusting of all. The fastest dry painting. We'll see how it looks. It's very sloppy, but we'll see. Might come out good. Might look like garbage. We'll see. Might be too late. Poured it right in the middle of its face. And I'm going to swirl it, hopefully, and tap as I go. If it doesn't quite fill it, you can always add more. But it seems like it's already starting to set up. That I might have waited too long by attempting to dry brush or dry paint that. We'll leave it. See, it's already starting to set up. I keep it moving. Now this one, since it has so much mass on the inside, look how fast that's setting up. Yeah, Bonnie, that's the other way you could do it. You could pour really slowly. But it's so hot in here that it's setting up way too fast. Now to combat that, the real thing would be to not use as much. Maybe use like a total of 1 tablespoon. So you'd get a little bit less in this, and it wouldn't set up quite as fast. But since it's so warm today, it's you know, there's no real way to control that. I mean, you know, you can tap for bubbles. I have this torch. If this was a clear, I use one of these little butanes to go lightly over the surface. But that usually is for clears. Now we'll see if, you know, if I have an issue with that. I'm going to tidy this up while we're waiting for this to set. Oh, and that's it, the Harvard study. So I was listening to that podcast, and it was talking about relationships being one of the most important things to help with longevity and health. Because people always assume, yeah, the way to have a, you know, like the way to have a good life is to have lots of money and free time. And the thing that they noticed over and over and over is that it's relationships and our friendships that are what makes our lives meaningful. Oh, you haven't tried the 2-part. Yeah, the torch works real good for removing air bubbles. Oh my god, I almost dropped my whole thing of pan pastels. That would have been a sad day for me. I've had these for years. Probably 10 years or more. I think I've had them longer than that because this is an old set. I got them when I was doing a lot of doll repainting, which was a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite activities that I do is doll repaints. And that's where you strip the paint off of a doll's face and start again with acetone. Use acetone to get off the old factory paint. You haven't tried the 2-part epoxy. Oh, I just read that. Yeah, the 2-part, they can't. So if anyone's looking at this going, oh my gosh, she did that completely wrong. Remember, there are lots and lots of different kinds of resins. I have several that are different set times. So they'll say the pot time. When you're stirring it, that's the pot time. Like that's how long you have to stir when it says open time or open work time. And now this is about a 5-minute pour. So you don't have long to get bubbles out. But if you're using a UV resin, you can use a torch, and that would be, you get this going and pretend like I have this mold and this is clear. You would gently waft the flame against it like a nice bushy flame, not a sharp, aggressive flame, but a bushy flame. You'd hit it right over the top, not holding it in any one spot too long, and doing like this. And then the bubbles would rise up. and then you'd get it again. And this, the heat would pop it. Now, we used to think that blowing on it would do it. Blowing on it would sometimes work, but it's not necessarily the heat, I think. I think it's just that, what is pulling that up? It might be the heat. I don't know. I don't know exactly what's pulling that, pulling the things to the surface. All right, now this does not feel... Sometimes you can tell if it's ready by pushing on it and seeing if it's hard. Shuri, you don't want to see that face. I had to throw it in the trash. It did not look good at all. I want to bust this out, but see how it's not filled? I can go ahead and get that out. Oh, yes, how obvious. Anne says warm air rises. I know that better than anyone because it's how my studio is like an oven right now. Warm air definitely rises. And I don't know if it's that simple with the resin, because it's not. Maybe it is. It's like warm air. Maybe the heat is pulling it up through. If anyone knows the exact scientific reason that using a torch bringing up the bubbles, if it is in fact because it's hot, then that might be the case. But then, you know, like the air from your mouth doesn't really do that good of a job if you blowed on it, you know, if you're like blowing. And you know what else doesn't work very well? So this is another reason I was thinking that. A hairdryer. Somebody was saying, oh, just use a hairdryer. And I was like, you know, I have a heat gun and that kind of works, but what works the best is the torch. The heat gun blew the stuff around. It was not as good. All right, I'm going to check it again. We'll see. This one you have to kind of fight with to get it out. And I'm going to check and see. Come on, you. The demold. It's kind of fun. I like demolding these. It's the best part. Now, I haven't poured this mold in several years, so we'll see how this... It might be the reason I didn't pour it is because it was messed up. I don't remember. Okay, so this type, you have to do one of these. Yeah, your breath has moisture and it doesn't do anything. And the torch is a dry heat. It's also a more intense heat. Okay, let's see. Oh, shit. Oh, look, the mold is tearing. I didn't mean for that to happen. This is an old mold. These don't last forever. Silicone gets brittle after a while. Ugh, another tear. Shoot. And let's see. Oh, there's a little spot. That's right. There's a little part where the mold tore right there. I see it. Let me see if I can... It's like she's got a little something something on her chin. That came out pretty good. But that mold is pretty chewed up. Now, look what happened. Ugh. That sucks. But you know what? Sometimes, you know, you just have to redo a mold. When it's really thick like this with the one-part molds, that can happen. I mean, that can happen with any mold. Especially when they get old. They don't last forever. They can eventually get kind of, I don't know. So this has the painting. You can see that dry painting where I went in with that darker color. And I went in with a little bit of a white on the top. So it gives it a sort of powdery look. Like a, I don't know. It'll be easy to paint because I could just easily highlight it and do her eyes. And then it's done. Or actually, knowing me, I'll paint the heck out of it. Then it'll be done. So she'll sit here. I'll take some pictures of when that's ready. This I'm not going to pop out because I want to pour more into that. Mary's asking, are the masters reusable? Sometimes they're reusable. Sometimes. But it depends. Sometimes, like this one, I don't know where the master is. I'd have to look for it. But if nothing happens to the original, Okay, so Wendy's, the original that you used to make that mold, what was it made of? The original was made with polymer clay. So you can use anything within reason. It can't be anything wet. So you can't use a wet clay to make a silicone mold because then the silicone won't set up. So it has to be something that is inert. And it isn't like, there's no copper in it or anything because that uh, reacts with silicone. So you can use, let's see, I was just thinking, what could you, if you don't have Sculpey? You can use, I use wax now to make most of my masters, and that works really well. No, it could be wax. It could be, and it could be anything that's not moist or like copper based, because that doesn't react well with the silicone. Okay, so this is, looks like it's ready to peel. No, it doesn't melt because the silicone doesn't heat up. What kind of wax do I use? I use jeweler's wax. And that, you've seen me use this before. This is jeweler's wax. You've seen this, y'all. That's that little puppet I'm working on. With a praying, she's a little praying mantis puppet. My finest work. We'll see. It's jeweler's wax. And it's a plasticky type of wax. You can use any kind of wax. You can use beeswax, paraffin. Just nothing that is too easy to destroy. Oh, thank you, Bonnie. Any particular brand of wax? I get it from Auto Fry. You can get it from Rio Grande. Any wax should work. There we go. Isn't that cute? Happy with her. Can't wait till I cast it up. It's going to be awesome. But it's going to be a lot of pieces and a lot of silicone mold. So we'll be making molds of that one here shortly. That's kind of satisfying. It's like peeling glue. Is getting that last bit of silicone out. It's so fun. So I told Azalea, I was like, I'll do a short live today. And of course, it's not a short one. It's always long. Whenever I'm by myself and no one to rein me in. Oh, thank you, Kalite. I like how it moves too. I'm excited. Oh, and you know what? This is some good news right here. Let me show this. So I don't know if y'all remember, but I made a long while ago, like 5 or 6 years, I've been working on this doll. This is all cast in bronze. And my buddy Hobie, look what he did. He did an amazing job stringing her up so that she is a puppet now. It's supposed to go the other way, so she's facing forward. She's facing the wrong way. The orientation is supposed to be where I'm behind like this. But she can move her head down. Isn't that cool? I'm so pleased with it. She can kick her legs. It's hard to get the orientation in this because you're supposed to be behind it. Hello, everyone. This is part of our pilot we're doing. We're working on a show of folk tales, and this is one of the characters. It doesn't have the right clothes. It doesn't have any clothes right now, but I'm working on a wig cap. But anyway, this is one of the characters. Okay, I'm going to set that down. Oh, you can hear the locusts starting to get in there. I'm going to flip this camera around. Alright, friends. Oh, I forgot about that thing in my... Here, let me step out of the screen, get that thing on shirt. All right. Thank you all for joining me on our resin adventures, and I hope you'll join me on Friday for preview night for the GBE, and also our segments on Sunday. And I'm going to be showing some stuff. I'm going to have a little bit of a live sale. It's a very short, it's only an hour, but it'll be a lot of fun. So I will see y'all for this weekend on the GBE. Don't forget our contest is still going. We're going to wrap it up probably early August, so maybe second week. So let me finish up the prizes. I still have them on my workbench, so they're not quite finished, but they will be super cool. And it looks like right now, it looks like there's not a lot of competition for the folks, so you want to get in on that. So I will see y'all very soon. Next week we'll be going live again on Wednesday, so don't forget about that. I have something fun planned for that day. Y'all have a wonderful week. I'm going to tidy up and get back to carving. I hope you have a wonderful and creative week. Love y'all out there. Bye-bye.